Hey everyone, this is Jake, and I'm here with Brian Brash and Eric Hopperstad, who are the founders of PRx Performance, which is known for their space-saving home gym solutions. The original idea was created back in 2013, and a few years later, they struck a Shark Tank deal with Mr. Wonderful. Since then, it appears that the business has grown tremendously, and I'm also really excited to see what the future holds for PRx. With that, Brian and Eric, thank you so much for taking the time to be here and speak with me.
Jake, really appreciate you having us on today.
Absolutely. Glad to be here, Jake.
Cool. Well, before we get into the story of PRx, are there some other things that people should know about you outside of business? For example, interests, hobbies, family, etc.? Just to give a little background.
Yeah, you bet. Just a quick background. Got a couple kids, live with my wife out in Oregon. Background, I'm a CPA. I got out before I lost all my hair. That was a challenge, but made it happen. And before this, I actually owned another manufacturing company in the automotive space. So that's kind of where I started.
Cool.
Yeah, and I guess, not much different really than anybody else outside of work. I'm married, have two awesome little girls, do some real estate stuff on the side, but, really PRx is kind of the bulk of what we're doing. It's been a wild ride.
Got it. So it appears that you both had your typical kind of corporate careers before starting PRx. Can you guys tell me how you guys met?
Yeah, you bet. So we actually met through our wives. They went to high school together, went to college together, and eventually when Brian started dating his wife, I think back in 2007 already, Brian and I started working out together, and that's kind of where we hit the ground running.
Cool. So you met in 2007. On the PRx website, it says that back in 2013, beers plus bonfires equals big ideas. And that's where the profile rack was born. When exactly did the original idea behind PRx originate? And how long did it take until you guys got the ball rolling?
That's a great question. I think, we were sitting in a bonfire one night talking about the explosive growth of the fitness industry, CrossFit in particular, and said, they don't make products that are really made for the way people are now dropping barbells overhead 10 times in a row. And we actually first came up with the Talon barbell collar. It took us 4 years to take that to market, but that's why we started the business. So drinking beers and, really the key thing is execution. So 2 days later, we were in a church at a friend's wedding, and I'm in back buying domain names, and we started drawing up concepts the following week. So it's not about the idea, it's about execution, and we did that well. But as we were struggling, trying to learn how to take a very complicated product, just to build it, we were like, what else can we do? We got a lot of steel in the back of my automotive manufacturing business shop, and what can we build, and what's another necessity, and that's kind of where it started.
Did you have any other original names that you could share that you thought of?
There's probably a few names, and if they were any good, they weren't available, and the horseshit ones we probably won't share with you.
I think my controller yelled at me about 2 years ago and said, hey, you own over 100 and some domain names. Can you get rid of some of them? So yeah, those are in the trash. So I think those are available. If we could tell you what they were, but yeah, my memory's not that good.
Yeah, I get it. All right. So it sounds like you had the idea and you, a couple days later, were trying to figure it out. What did that first year of business end up looking like?
Oh, it was evil. Like starting any business, we're writing checks every month and just trying to cover, expenses, trying to, keep expenses small. But part of the other side of the story is we heard our competition say, we believe in street parking. And it's like, wow, they're wanting people to turn an entire garage into a gym. It's like, it doesn't work in Fargo, North Dakota. You can't park in the street in the winter, because it was the winter then. It's like, that's laughable. It's like, wait, how do we fit an entire gym inside a garage without taking up a car space? And that's we started brainstorming, sat down with our engineers, and that's really kind of where it took the next step. But, you pay an attorney to file your patents. And even though we were kind of trying to borrow space and borrow everything, it was a slow start. One thing I will quickly mention is a great tool for anyone starting a business is we used employee stock options. And it was a great way. We had about 15 people help us start the business, and they received shares in the company started off, and those people that have held on have obviously done really well with that. So it was a great way to use zero cash up front and grow a business. And non-qualified stock options is the official name. So just for the entrepreneurs out there, it's a great tool starting a business.
Good to know. And go ahead, Eric.
I was just going to say that, regarding the first year, Brian kind of talked about how painful it was, but it was really a time where we had to step back and reflect and really figure out who we were and what we were going to do and why that was going to matter to the fitness industry.
It sounds like Shark Tank was like 3 years later. Where was your business when you decided to enter whatever you needed to do to try and enter the Shark Tank? And so where was your business at the time, and why did you ultimately go for it?
So in 2015, and I'm a CPA, I don't mind talking numbers. If you look up Inc. Magazine, you can see our numbers. There's a few things that are confidential, but I like sharing these just to educate, people and other entrepreneurs and just kind of share the knowledge. We did about 400,000 that year in 2015. So that was a decent year. And we had literally our first break-even month or slightly profitable. So when we went on to Shark Tank, we could say we were profitable. But it was a long road to that point. We, had this amazing fold-up rack, and we knew it was great because every time we go to a trade show, everyone would say, "Wow, that's that was amazing! I love it! I want one." Well, then buy one, and no one's going to drop $1,200 at a fitness show or an event, a fitness event. So we were just still thinking it was a good idea, but again, the cash was going out; it wasn't coming in. So it was a trying time, but that was kind of how we were doing right in 2015.
Yeah, I guess at this time, Brian, you mentioned you were the numbers guy. What were your responsibilities? And Eric, you as well. How were your roles different?
Yeah, I think, Brian is always kind of focused on the numbers and projections and, helping everybody kind of see a much bigger picture, dreaming big. And then, I'm focused kind of on the other side on operations, helping in new product development, some of the ideas, and so we complement each other well in that regard. And I think if we back up just a minute too regarding Shark Tank, I think it's kind of neat to say that it really wasn't planned. The Shark Tank thing, it just it came up, and I was watching the show one night, and just for the heck of it was curious, like, how do these people get on this show? So I did a quick Google search and learned that there was open castings in different parts of the country. And I noticed that there was going to be one in Miami, and it was going to happen a day or two before Brian and I were scheduled to be down in Miami to exhibit at Wadapalooza. So I actually emailed Brian and said, "Hey, check this out. This is kind of cool." And I think I called him, and I think he hung up on me, and then he called me back, and he's like, "You're not going to believe this, but I just rebooked our plane tickets because I think we should probably check that out." And the ticket agent asked why he wanted to rebook our tickets, so we told him, and the individual was such a fan of the show, they didn't even charge us to change our tickets. It was just kind of one of the many serendipitous moments that we've experienced through the years.
That's awesome. All right, so you ended up getting a deal. We all know that. But can you give us a quick summary of how it actually went?
I want to take one step back there, too, is when we showed up to Shark Tank, the first thing they do is give you a per diem. And it was like, I don't know, $70 a day for food. And I think that's like the first time we had that much cash available to us. And we actually went out to dinner. We're like, wow, we can afford to go out to dinner now. Because, I think every athlete struggles with the business was so difficult. We were just so close to running out of cash. We were watching every penny, almost eating ramen noodles. And every athlete always wonders, like, their bodies tell them to quit, but the brain says no. And we actually, Eric and I talked about shutting down the business. It was so tight. It was so thin. Like, we don't know, but we also believed in it. We believed in ourselves. And we're like, we got to push through this. We got to make it happen. So getting to Shark Tank, getting that $70 per diem, getting a good meal, and then, everything just kind of launched from there. So we were right at that point where it was like, what are we going to do? So it was a great launching pad. Eric, you can answer the question then that I avoided.
Yeah, maybe you want to repeat the question again, Jake.
Yeah, I can do that. But yeah, Brian, I can imagine going 3 years or so and you finally make a monthly profit, and it's not like you're dealing with something that's cheap to create or, just I'm sure that was a lot of stress that you had to deal with. And I'm guessing if this didn't work out, you might have actually closed the shop. But actually, real quick, while we're here, would you say the most difficult thing during these few years was introducing a new product in the home gym space, or was the home gym population just not quite there yet, or a combination of the few? Does that make sense?
I think honestly the biggest challenge was that we needed to be something that nobody else was yet. It's one thing to build something on commodity and, make that a go, maybe. But I think if you're able to really differentiate yourselves in one way, shape, or form, whether that is creative products, intellectual property, or whatever it is, it's super important. And the hardest part was figuring out who we were. And, when the ideas came that we felt so good about, that was a breath of fresh air. We knew that we had something. Now we just had to get it to the masses.
All right, back to Shark Tank. Mm-hmm. So like I said, we all know you ended up getting a deal, but can you give us a quick summary of maybe just from that? I don't think you went straight into the tank. What was the whole experience like?
70,000 people apply. You show up, you stand in a line. The line was almost 800 people long that day in Miami. And there's a guy up there just telling us, all right, here's what we're going to do. There's 5 producers and 5 different booths. You got 1 minute. You go in there, give it your all, lay it on the table, and then leave. You're never going to hear from us again. It's like, we can't get back to all of you. He goes, we'll call you. Don't call us. He's like, if somebody offers you $1 million for your business, if it's the right deal, take it. Don't say you're waiting on a call from Shark Tank, because we're not going to call you. So they were very honest and upfront. It was kind of fun. So you walk in there, if you think about it, it's TV. You got to be animated. Like we joked, we both slammed Red Bulls. We went in there and you just laid on the table for a minute. And the guy was like, all right, cool. He made a little check mark in the top corner. And 3 days later, we heard back from him. And then we went from all of those people to a group of 750 that were invited to meet with them weekly. And eventually they fly 150 people out, of which only 120 air. 60 get a deal, and about half of those close, about 30 close. So we were 1 out of 30 out of the 70-some thousand that applied. But yeah, Eric, if you want to talk about the on-set experience, it was pretty cool too.
Yeah, the on-set was probably one of the most intimidating things we've ever done. First of all, they call it Shark Tank for a reason, and I don't think television can accurately portray what you're actually going through when you step foot out on that rug. The sharks don't meet you beforehand. The only thing they know when you walk out is your first name. And you hear over the loudspeaker in this huge studio to begin. Well, we didn't hear that the first time. So there was a long, awkward pause, 15 feet from these sharks, and they told us to begin again, but obviously much louder. And when we finished our pitch, that's when the feeding frenzy really happens, because on television it sounds so cut and dry and organized, but they're all mic'd up separately, right? So that's all edited. It really is a Shark Tank. Everybody's yelling at you at the same time. They want their answers. They don't want to miss out on a deal if they indeed are a good fit. So it was a wild experience.
I watched the video. It's like 7 minutes. How long were you actually in there?
We were on...
It was 50 minutes.
Yeah, just under an hour.
50 minutes. Was there anything that they asked? Or can you give us an example of something that you had to answer, but they didn't air?
Yeah, towards the end. So, we didn't want to just take a deal. And we decided, hey, we want to make sure the shark is bringing us value, not just, we're helping them out. So we decided we'd push back a little bit. Well, we were sitting at that point where we just had one shark in. And we're like, let's still ask the question. So Eric asked Mr. Wonderful, what are you gonna do for us? And, he gave an answer. But now we had just been at another show where we met a guy who got to deal with Damon. And we kind of learned a little bit about the way he works, the way he thinks. And Damon was asking, like, well, how many are you selling at shows? And that's not our model. We're more direct to consumer online, not shows. We don't do well at shows. So then after we asked Kevin that question, we see Damon reaching over to Kevin. And I'm like, uh-oh. And then Eric started asking another question. I'm like, dude, let's not push our luck. Let's take the deal. So before Kevin had a word to say, we're like, wait, we'll take it. And so it was kind of this back and forth in this chess game. And I got so excited, I stepped off because we had like little gifts if we're going to get a deal with a shark. So I stepped off the carpet and they're like, wait, get back on your mark. So they only cut rolling twice. That was one of the times. And they're like, hey, let's just reshoot that finish. Well, the way it happened was so dynamic. I don't know if they could cut it correctly. So they just said, let's reshoot it. Hey, we'll give you this video. Okay, yeah, we'll take it. It was much less exciting on TV, believe it or not. In person, it was a roller coaster.
It was awesome in person.
Yeah, that was cool.
That's wild that they had you react. It seemed like there was some hesitancy because of the price. Was there any other key reasons that some of the others decided not to invest?
Yeah. You think you prepare for everything when you're going in there. Eric and I watched every single episode that had been until that season. And I wrote down over, 80 questions that they'd ask. And we practiced them. Hey, I'll take finance and sales. You do marketing and you do operations. So we knew who was going to answer it. We were dialed. But then they're like, stud finder, huh? So how long does it take to set this thing up? Right. 2 minutes? Like, are you nuts? Like, Lori was the only one who used a stud finder. They talked about stud finders for 15 minutes. I'm like, guys, installation's not a problem. But they made it into this huge deal. And, Mark Cuban's like, I'm not into that. You need a big, strong wall to hold this weight. Like,
right.
Mark, a wall holds a freaking house up. This is what we're putting on. There's nothing. So it went down a tangent. I think they got a little scared. So I think there was other stuff and there was a joke about a stud finder on TV anyway, but there was a lot more behind the scenes.
Right. I did see that. And it seemed like one of the primary reasons Kevin invested was because he was going through the home gym process, the build at that time for his lake house or something like that. So that's interesting how it worked out, that it just timing seemed to happen. Yep. Timing happened right. And then I watch quite a bit of Shark Tank, and usually when I'm watching it or after I watch an episode, I look up to see, like, did the deal actually go through? And you find out that a lot of the deals, like you mentioned earlier, don't go through. Could you guys explain what the process is like after that? Because it seems like you have a deal, but there's a chance that it might not go through. Yeah,
I think, if you think of just business in general and any sort of an investment in business, anybody's going to do proper due diligence, right? So it's not anything out of the ordinary. They're writing checks. It's real money. It's our company. It's real equity. Everybody wants to make sure that, it is actually going to be mutually beneficial. So, every situation is different, every company. And I think that's why some don't close, right? Either the sharks see something they don't like, or the entrepreneur maybe just decides, hey, this isn't good for us. But, as we went into due diligence with Kevin and his small team, we realized that there was a benefit there. And we wanted to close the deal. Now, that didn't stop us from negotiating. We did negotiate a better deal. But I think, everybody's happy with that. So it was just a great story.
Cool. And how has that partnership worked over the years? Do you still talk to him on a regular basis, or has that kind of fizzled out?
No, it's been awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been wonderful. Kevin is, going into Shark Tank, he probably would not have been our first pick. Knowing what we know now, it definitely worked out in our favor, and we ended up with the best option in front of us. And, every year for many years until COVID came, we'd meet up with all of his companies, his portfolio companies in Miami, and have a summit, and he's just been a great help. But, stays out of the way. He invested in a company that he believed in, and he trusts us to run it, stays out of the way, and he's there to support us if we need him.
We've made some big decisions since then and said, hey, we put a bunch of money into this new project. If you want to be a part of it, we'll leave it in the main company. If not, we'll put it in our parent company and you're out of it, because I trust you guys. I want to be a part of whatever you're doing. Just leave it. I trust you. Go. I mean, that's it.
I'm sure it was a good investment for him. So I'm sure he's probably, he trusts you guys.
Yep.
All right. Anything else you want to add to the Shark Tank story that we didn't cover?
No, I think if anyone out there is considering going through the exercise, I would encourage them to do it, because it gets you organized. At one point, we sent documents probably 5-6 inches thick in due diligence, and just even before, right out of the gate. So it's a great way to just get all your ducks in a row. And then after that too, just the whole experience has been phenomenal, and the contacts we've made, and it's invaluable. So I'd encourage anyone to at least go through the process, even if they don't get on it.
Awesome. All right. So your business has evolved quite a bit since the appearance on Shark Tank. Can you guys explain to me how you have evolved since Shark Tank, and what does your business look like today?
Well, that's a loaded question. I mean, we have been on a crazy trajectory. I mean, doubling and doubling and doubling, and just on a very steep curve to begin with. And then, COVID reared its ugly head, and, that was just a whole nother catalyst and brought on its own challenges. But, overall, if we fast forward, we've moved 8 times in 8.5, 9 years, and just late this last year and a couple months ago, moved into our brand new facility. We won't be moving anymore. Now we're sitting very nice office space, a large distribution center, and some manufacturing, on the back end. So, it's been a hell of a ride to get here, but we finally are at home, and that. I think our people are pretty appreciative of not having to move anymore. So it's been wild.
Having a home has allowed us to step back and look at really the fitness industry and the market as a whole. So as you know, we actually have some different brands. Not only we have the PRx, profile line, which is the original space-saving equipment, state-of-the-art. There was a lot of demand, like, wow, the price is high. Well, it's built in America, which is very important to us. So they said, and we realized we were missing out on a part of the market. It's like, well, let's keep the US made, but let's also create a line called Murphy Rack that has a more affordable fold-in solutions. So we launched, PRX is kind of at the top. And then we launched Murphy Rack that's a little bit more affordable and has some of the great space-saving solutions. And then we also realized we were kind of missing, the bottom of the market and the entry level. So we came up with Grind Fitness. So our Grind Fitness line has done very well. We really see fitness as a journey. And if you can start people off, when their budget's a little bit smaller, and if you put our grind racks next to any other thing near at the similar price point, it's going to blow them away. We bought all the competitors, we line them up, and our grind racks are stable, they're stout, they are absolutely amazing. And, it's the same or just a little bit more than those entry level products. So it's kind of putting our touch of quality onto the entire product line. And we've always kind of had a motto that, you sell the first one and it doesn't really matter but when somebody comes back and buys from you again, it's the ultimate compliment. Then you have a true customer and you're really adding value out there. So that's always the goal, is 100% customer satisfaction and creating the customer for life.
Got it. And with that, something that I've seen over the years is just, if you start a home gym, you definitely get you get fitness, but it also turns into like a hobby. So a lot of people love building out their home gym, and they're constantly out, always on the prowl, looking to upgrade and add. So if you can get those customers in at a lower price and they're satisfied with that, they're more likely to upgrade with you or continue buying with you. So that definitely makes sense. Have you guys had any issues with your patent being violated over the years? Or if you can't get into that, no worries. I'm curious.
Yeah, we had some initial violators out of the gate. And what we learned from Kevin is you hit them hard, you hit them fast. And we went after them and we shut them down. there is a style out there that still folds, which a lot of people have.
Mm-hmm.
And the unfortunate thing is we actually found some prior art out there that it existed before our patent was filed. So the basic fold-in stuff. But at the end of the day, I personally hate that design because you got to move 4 pins, and it's really kind of clunky, and it's not fast, and it doesn't provide a lot of value. Whereas with ours, you just pull it down, boom, you're done. You're lifting. Lift it up with one hand. It's all shock. It's such a differentiator. So we kind of added that to have a Me Too product. But if anybody is on the fence, you got to go for the fold-up version. So that's kind of where we are with the patents. But we've learned that with patents and trademark, because if you don't shut people down, it just continues to grow and fester. So you gotta protect what's yours. We invested years in research and patent fees. Like, you gotta protect it.
That makes sense. I actually have a buddy who has just down the street, he has a Rogue fold-away rack, but he never ends up folding it up because you're right. It just takes too much time. Go ahead.
One of the jokes in the initial videos was, guys don't even like to put the toilet seat up. So it's like, we have got to make it that easy or else no one's going to use it. So
right. That's awesome. Should have been in the Shark Tank pitch. There's also been lately a big focus on your Build Limitless line. Can you explain why you decided to add something like this to your lineup, and what's the future of that type of rack look like for you?
We have a lot of products in the pipeline, but we decided we allocated over half of our engineering resources towards this, because what we've seen is evolution as people kind of go from one rack to the next and the next. And our new corporate building, we put solar on the roof. Like, how do we become more sustainable? At the end of the day, we're like, what if we could create a rack where it starts off as like a wall mount or just something very basic you can put in your basement or in your mom and dad's house. And then, but you can take it with you to college, and then eventually in your first apartment, and it'll grow and grow, and eventually, and there's multiple upgrade paths. There's about 6 different steps, and you can take it from step 1 to 2, or 1 to 4, or 1 all the way to 6, or just buy the mega system right out of the gate. And so we wanted to create flexibility, and I didn't feel like that really existed yet in the market. And still the majority today of what we're coming out with are accessories and options for the Build Limitless line. So we kind of did a soft launch right before the holidays, and we're doing an official launch here coming up in a month. And we have an amazing pipeline of some great attachments. So that's just kind of the vision for why we got into it. And, once you have all the weights and the kettlebells and the dumbbells, and you know how to work metal, and you have a manufacturing shop in the back of your building, it's like, why don't we just, why are we missing on that part of the market too? And we could do some really cool stuff. So I think that just got us inspired to come out with Build Limitless.
Yeah, I think it was really more of a vision to do more than what existed. Kind of like what we did with the foldable racks. Bring the innovation to something that's existed for a long time, but gives everybody more flexibility, more options.
Makes sense. So I would categorize many of the listeners of this podcast as like product junkies, and they're always keeping an eye out for new products. They get very excited when somebody comes out with something that they haven't seen before, or if a company hints at something new, they'll definitely be on the lookout. So are there any products or ideas that may be released in 2022 that you could share with us? I know you mentioned you have stuff coming, but
we have a very large pipeline. Brian alluded to a lot of accessories. We have some cool stuff coming out, and unfortunately, we're a little bit early, Jake. We can't spill too many beans, but to all the listeners out there, you're going to want to stay tuned here over the next several months, because there's some stuff coming out that's probably going to blow your mind.
I tell you what, Jake, if you want an exclusive on the release on a few of these products, let us know. We can do a quick little 5-minute update or something. And,
that'd be cool, yeah.
Yeah, if you're interested. But we're launching one of my favorite products the 3rd week of April. Unfortunately, I can't talk about it. We actually launched the product in Germany, or we teased it a few months before the launch, and it was nuts because 2 competitors actually came out with something similar 60 days later, and it kind of killed the product. So we're a little bit gun shy. So while we have some really cool accessories coming out, while we have 2 massive new product lines also coming out over the next year, we're also, a project we've been working on for 2.5 years is a new app. Now, this app is not going to launch until summer, but I can talk about that at a high level. It's called MVT, as in kind of shortened for movement. And we have some technology in there that, to my knowledge, only exists in one other app out of the couple 100,000 apps that are out there today. We feel like we're years ahead of the market. And what this app accomplishes, it really brings community together. And then some of these features that I can't talk about yet, what we've seen, the one app that is using it today, people are completing over 97% of their workouts, which is insane. Like, nobody does that. And it has a 96% retention over a 12-month period. No gym can even get close to that. And this is an app. So we're going to be launching that this summer. We're in beta tests right now. And we've had some even VCs look at it, and they literally said, you guys are probably 2 years ahead of everyone. So we're super excited about that. So we can talk about that probably this summer if you want to get on again.
That'd be awesome. Can you answer, is it a strength training or cardio? Is it a combination or
it's
functional
combination.
fitness? Okay.
Yeah. I think it would apply to all your listeners. It's very broad, and there's so much content on it. It is ridiculous.
Very
It's
cool.
easy and simple to use, and there's an accountability piece that is it's a game changer, not only to fitness but to other educational industries as well.
Yeah, the content is really just the beginning. No, that's enough, Brian.
Yeah, I'll shut up now.
I won't dig anymore, but hopefully we can have you on in a few months. All right, so you mentioned you have Built Limitless, you have an app coming. Can you give a little bit more insight into where you think PRX will be in 5 years? And if you want to get into the following question I actually have is, what about the future of the home gym industry? Are we seeing any trends? So maybe dive into like where you see PRX and how that evolves as the home gym industry does.
Yeah, I think, talking about what we just talked about with the app, so kind of the software, if you will, coupled with all the hardware, the equipment that we've all been accustomed to using for many years, we feel pretty strongly that the home gym industry is going to continue to trend home. I think the COVID spike, if you will, the couple of years of COVID probably fast forwarded that trend. Now there's gyms opened again. People are going to the gym a little bit more. But I think as the hardware and the software meet each other, the trend will continue to trend into more homes. So I think you can expect to see that that's where PRX will go in the next 3 to 5 years as well. We feel like with the right hardware and the right software, there's really no better place and no quicker way to get your workout in every single day.
Yeah. If you, I think, look at the future of fitness, I actually personally like to go to a gym. I like the community aspect, but if I didn't have my home gym, I'd miss out on over half my workouts because some days I just don't have the time, etc. So I think it's a perfect, and people are realizing too that, if they're not community people, home gym is all you need. If you are a community person, you still have to supplement it because life is crazy and it's a hard thing to fit in. It's probably one of the most important things you do during the day. So if we can start to bring the software and the hardware and the integration and just create convenience and accountability, it makes a huge impact for all of our customers.
Makes sense. Do you think there will be any other major shifts in the industry in the next few years?
I think there's going to be a settling kind of, like Eric mentioned, COVID accelerated everything, but we're still seeing decent growth. It just kind of like, I think where we would have been in 10 years, I think we jumped ahead 6 or 7. So I think there's still quite a ways to go, but it's a lot faster. And I love all the innovation out there. I love seeing what's coming out. And that's why, we're filing patents as fast as we can. We have 18 patents issued. We have 7 more in the pipeline, and I think we're going to file 2 more in the next week or 2. And other people are doing great stuff out there too. So it's fun to see everyone in a race to create this new environment where fitness is just so much more accessible and efficient.
Yeah, that's interesting that you use the word accelerated the market. I I totally agree with you. I feel like my personal story into getting a home gym, I think I had a kid a few years earlier than like most of my friends. And I ended up starting to work out at home a couple years before I could see them being interested. With COVID, it kind of accelerated like a child did for me, the rest of the world almost. And I may have a little more time on my hand. I still definitely see value in having a home gym, and just about everybody else as well. It's just a time saver, unlike anything else if you're an active person. Yeah, with that, did the home gym market change, or did it just accelerate? Does it seem like your target audience, I would say, is a little different than what it was before COVID?
I would say that, we experienced acceleration mixed with change. And I say mixed with change because COVID made people that maybe wouldn't ordinarily think about a home gym, made them think about a home gym. So I think it's a combination, honestly. No doubt the acceleration was there, but I think it just created more awareness to more people regarding fitness and fitting it into their life and making sure it is accessible. And, a lot of people can hesitate because of the investment itself, because it is an investment. But once you make that investment and you understand the efficiencies that it creates, the ease, the access, you realize really quickly that maybe you shouldn't have put it off as long as you did.
Yeah. And, I'll open the hood again, being the finance guy. Since our numbers are public, we started 2019, or we finished 2019 with about 9.4 million in revenue, and we were projecting about 17 million. But to open the hood as far as like how we work and see what happened in 2020, come March, we were receiving so many orders that we got to be a backlog of 4 weeks, and we kind of felt like we didn't want to take anyone's money and make them wait longer than that. We didn't feel it was the right thing to do. So we actually turned off our website. We turned it on for 30 seconds a day. And in that 30 seconds, we would sell what all of our local manufacturers could make. And we'd bring in 4 truckloads of steel and ship 4 FedEx truckloads out every single day. And it was interesting because I talked to an owner of a competitor, and we were telling everyone, hey, it'll take you 5 weeks to get your stuff, and we shipped it in 4. So we always beat our expectations. Set expectations here, and then deliver above that. They were setting expectations. They were also taking about 4 or 5 weeks they were taking 5 weeks to ship out, but they were telling everyone it would take 4. So they were just like a week or 2 later than us, and everyone's pissed at them. So we had great reviews. They had terrible. So we just set proper expectations. But for 4 months, our website was only on for 30 seconds a day. And it was kind of painful because people were like, I just want to place an order with you. It's like, yeah, but we don't want to take your money and you get something, 2, 3, 4 months later. Customer satisfaction and protecting the brand was so important to us, and maintaining quality. We just didn't want to sacrifice those. And looking back on it, I'm really glad with what we did, because I think we're upfront and honest with people, and they know what to expect, and they know when they, because they're paying a premium with us, because we have some amazing patents and some really cool technology, they're going to get what they pay for. I didn't tell you, so 2020 ended a little over 50 million. So, 540% growth, and went from about 18 employees to just under 100. Plus, we had a flood in the middle of all that, too. A building we were in that we had bought and purchased and remodeled, completely flooded. And in 36 hours, our entire team was in 2 new warehouses and shipping, which was nuts. Everything on the ground was scrapped. Everything up on the rafters and the pallet racking, we got out and we started shipping again. Our team was just amazing.
Yeah, I think that's a huge highlight right there is, the building flooded. I mean, there was literally water running out the front steps, and we had shoes in offices that floated out into the warehouse and out. I mean, it was ridiculous. But I think a highlight there is, just to the testament of our team and, to our customers, like, the people that are taking care of you behind the scenes when you place an order, these people shipped orders that day in a flooded, messy building after the water and electricity had been turned off for safety so that our customers would have their product. I mean, it's just, our team is unbelievable. And we're so lucky and so grateful to have them. It's awesome.
That's awesome. What caused the flood?
A water main break underneath our building that was a pipe probably, 2.5 feet in diameter. It was an old paper warehouse, so it had a huge water main coming in to service the sprinklers, and that thing gave way, and it was chaos. Insane.
And our really good friend, we had just signed a new insurance deal with him 3 weeks prior, so we switched insurance companies. So he's still our friend today, but he gave that serious consideration whether or not. It's like, great. They signed a deal, and 3 weeks later we had a payout. Awesome.
Oh, brutal.
Not good.
No, not good for anybody.
Well, Eric, you mentioned 500-something% growth that year. I also saw you've been on the Inc. 5,000 list as well, up in the hundreds, so really high up before that. So how does the 500% increase compare to the prior years before Shark Tank?
Go ahead, Brian. You've got those numbers right with you.
Yeah, the first couple of years we were, I think, number like 2,000 and then 1,000. But when we hit that year, we were in the top 500. I think we were actually 2021, we were 420. And then prior to that, I think we were 167th for the 2020 year. And the number one retail in the U.S., which is absolutely nuts. Okay. One other fun fact, too, is we're also one of the top 20 best-selling products on Shark Tank ever. And considering in, 13 seasons and, 120 to 150, per year, we're in with a lot of great company there. So we're pretty proud of what's happened. But, the Inc. 500, it's just fun to get that recognition and really pumps up the team. And 4 years. And we decided this year, we're diversifying in so many different ways, and there's so many things going on. We didn't apply this year. We would have made it, but we're like, let's focus on the other core businesses now. So that was our last run. 4 years is enough, but we recommend doing that for other companies out there.
Okay, cool. All right. So lots of successes. Any product failures or just other general failures that you could share with us over the years?
Yep.
I think we're going to run out of time, Jake.
Hopper, the plyo box, we wanted to make a wall-mounted plyo box. We have so many versions of those, and it's just not quite right, because if you're mounted to a wall and you're jumping up, you don't want to hit your head when you get up there. So it's kind of like, how deep should it be? And there's all these little things that you don't totally think about. And we had a decent one, but it wasn't to our quality standards. So we spent years and years in prototypes on that. So that one's gone. The other one that we launched in Germany was the reverse hyper and GHD combo that folds against the wall. I'm building a home gym right now. It'll be done in the next month or two, and it's going to be amazing. I'm putting one of those in. Now, we only made 50 of those, but for the cost it took to make that, and it cost to ship to a customer and what we'd actually have to charge them, it just didn't quite make sense. And it's too bad, too, because it's one of my favorite products, but just no one was really buying it. And that was a sad one to decide that we had to turn off. It's probably, it's the one painful one that we had to turn off.
Got it.
So there's a lesson here, Jake. You heard us talk about the plyo box. Don't spend too much time on stuff that just isn't going to get across the line. Dump it, move on.
Yeah. And the folding bench, we spent 4 years on that, Hopper, I think. And then the new incline version, we hit that out of the park. But we worked with so many, even external engineers to get that right. And I think that concept is almost 8 years old. And it's, even just the flat version still is an amazing product. But the incline bench, it is complex, but man, it is functional. And it just checks all the boxes. So that's I think one that I'm almost most proud of. One of our employees' father, after we struggled with it for years, came in and helped us out with it. So we were just casting a net, just help us get this right, and we finally got it right.
And obviously, Jake, we're a little biased. So the coolest thing about that bench is that when you're not using it, it doesn't take up any space. So you can't find that anywhere else.
All right. That makes sense to me. How about this? And this is the last question I have here. But actually, before we get to that, I had a follow-up question. You mentioned a lot of times with like the Plyo box, for example. Can you explain the benefits of being able to do this as a made in America company as opposed to what you would have had to deal with if you were trying to develop that and then produce it overseas, or just like go into just the benefits of creating in America? Yeah,
I mean, I think it's just, number one, proximity to all your resources. And, number two is the quality. I mean, we all know that there are products in the fitness industry that, it's hard to get them made even in the United States. So there are obviously things that you do need to outsource overseas. But quality is one of our core values, build to last. We're not going to sacrifice that. And it is easier to achieve that in the United States. And when we do decide to take a product overseas, quality is still number one.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's always our first choice. It's always our first choice. Yep. Made in America.
And we always kind of joke, but we say that we want to sell our customers something that they're going to leave in their will. We want it to last longer than them. And when you take it from the start to finish, you can guarantee that. Whereas even if you have, we have a quality people over in China on the stuff we've decided to import, we still have containers of stuff that we have to throw away. We have to, because it doesn't meet our quality standards. We have a pretty large QA team. If it's not on the mark, it has to be recycled. So it's just the problems you deal with being overseas. And I mean, right now we come up with a product concept. You can fast track it. We have a couple 3D printers, and we can have something printed, and we can go out to our R&D shop and concept it in a few days. So it's, that doesn't happen when you're ordering samples back and forth. It takes 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I'm sure you guys at the beginning were very hands-on with creating the product and doing all the marketing and operations and such. How does that compare to your roles today with the company?
I think this is one of my favorite stories. When we first started, you're exactly right. We had no choice but to do everything until we could maybe afford to hire our first employee. Maybe we couldn't even afford it, but we did it. And, you get to a point where one individual can only do so much, and you're either naturally good at delegating or you're not. And if you're not, you get to a point where you're forced to delegate. Me personally, it was hard for me to delegate in the beginning. I quickly learned that if we were going to scale this and build something worthwhile, that I needed to learn how to delegate. So, now that's changed and evolved, and we do delegate, but that's because we have amazing people. We have an amazing leadership team. We have amazing managers, and we empower them. We want them to run with things, run with ideas. We want them to communicate with each other, and we want to more or less support them as much as we can while they're, really taking advantage of the knowledge that they've developed as well.
I think that's the key to really being a leader too, because if you're working in the business, you can't work on the business. So by empowering all of our employees to take it, run with it, break things, make mistakes, just keep going. And, we have their back. I just got back. I lived in Italy for over a year and a half and looked at, opening up PRx Europe. And it's just, we have such an amazing team here. We trust them completely. So we don't need to be into the day-to-day at all. So it allows us to do strategy. And I'll call Eric like, hey, I've got this great idea. I know we have this process on how to file patents now, but I'm going to do this one personally because I'm going to fast track it. And it pisses off some of my team, and they just know I'm a little that way sometimes. But I got a patent filed in like 6 weeks from concept, and I've never heard this before. We actually got it issued 3 months later. And so, it allows us to do those fun things and come up with these new ideas. And we haven't even launched that product to market yet. And that's in process now. But it allows us to really think big and come up with these great ideas and just let our employees do what we hired them for, and for them to grow and go through training and grow within their careers. So it's a great balance.
Yeah, and we're trying to figure out that balance all the time too. I mean, when you go from 18 people to 80 people in a very short period of time, you have to learn and grow as a leader too. And that's something that we're trying to do. it makes it much more difficult to communicate efficiently, make sure everybody knows who should know, and just be more open. When it's 20, it's easy. When it's 80, it's more challenging. So Brian and I both know that we need to be better too, and we need to do better in regards to communicating with our team. So that it's a constant evolution.
Gotcha. How many people do work for PRx now, and how does it feel to be able to provide a job for so many different Americans?
Yeah, I think the official number right now is 77 employed. And one of my favorite stories is there was a businessman who was bragging, I got 3 houses, and he was all kind of proud of himself. And then he was telling that to another CEO, and the other CEO was like, yeah, I've got 120 houses, meaning he had 120 employees. And that's the right way to look at it, because these are the people that rely on us and rely on each other, not only for the paycheck, but community and the growth and their education and their career. And it's kind of an honor to have this many amazing people with us. So it's humbling. It's very humbling.
Awesome. How was Europe? Are you guys going to end up adding a PRx Europe to your arsenal?
Yeah, that's something that'll eventually come out. We can't really disclose anything now. Canada has launched, and we're looking at a couple other opportunities, and it's kind of like right time, and things change when you start going out beyond the U.S. borders. So it's been a good learning experience, and yeah, we'll let you know. That can be another podcast.
Awesome. That's all I have. So I'll close this out, but awesome chat. And honestly, it seems like there's way more going on in the background for PRx, and the future seems really bright. I'm really excited to hear what you guys have coming next. And thank you so much I know you guys are really busy, obviously. So thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I learned a lot and had a good time.
Likewise, Jake. Really appreciate your time as well, and thanks to all the listeners. Yeah, love your podcast.
Appreciate it, Jake. It's been awesome. Thanks for having us on.